Pace Motorsport.
What is up, guys, and welcome to another lap guide video for the GTSSA Season 1 Race 2, where we will be taking part or making sure we can go as fast as we can around the Suzuka circuit in the Super Formula cars. As always, guys, this is some tips so that you are able to gain some pace around the track and hopefully improve your lap times. What you'll need to do is firstly get your hands on the Pace W11. I mean, look at this car. It's absolutely beautiful. Come on, man. Yeah, get you guys hands on the Super Formula cars for this season. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through the tips on how to brake, or the lack thereof braking. Within this track, you really need to be quite Japanese and make sure that you use your eyes in terms of spotting the corners. And then one of the new things that I'm going to try and show you is how to use your engine to brake. So your gear shifting is going to be quite key when it comes to coming around Suzuka. One of my bogey tracks, guys, so please do look out for me being quite a noob on this race. And as always, you do need to do quite a bit of race prep, because with this race, from what I found in terms of my prep for it already, is that strategy is going to be quite key. So please do get in your race prep for this track. Obviously, learn your braking points, or the lack thereof braking points, especially when you are in slipstream. I think we did learn from last week on the top laces race that you don't want to get rammed in the back by somebody else who doesn't know their braking points. So please, guys, do practice your braking points as always. And then how to follow a car in your slipstream. So sector 1 of this track is quite twisty, and obviously when you're in slip, it does affect the car's balance in the front. So please do try and learn how to practice following someone in your slip. Alright, guys, and then the brake balance for this race, again, it's a little bit different in terms of quali, but what you will be running for the wheel, guys, is +1 or +2 to the rear, just because the track does kind of open up quite nicely when you want to turn. And the same for controller, you're running about +1 or +2 to the rear. Again, this is under good advice. I know I don't race on the controller often, but I do ask the guys that are at the top of the game what they are running. And obviously this is just a guideline, guys, so please do make sure that you obviously adjust it as you feel necessary, depending on your tire wear and your slipstream. This is going to be quite a long-ish video. We do need to scrutinize this track quite a bit, so let's get into the lap. So what you want to do is obviously hug the start finish straight pit lane entry exit point, so that you can kind of gain as much time. Shorter the track, the quicker. Turn 1, I actually miss all the braking points, and what I do is I try and aim for this little green patch at turn 1. You'll find that my braking is very minimal, but what I do is my gearing is shifting down quite quickly, which actually helps the car slow down. On exit of turn 2, again, as you see the exit curve is when you would then start accelerating your way out. You'll find that if you do that nicely, you do run out nicely quite wide. Turn 3, then you'll see I'm flat through turn 3 up into 5th gear, just aiming for that apex. Turn 4 is when I will lift off and brake a little bit and gear down into 4th gear. Again, it helps me brake just ever so slightly, and then it's all about playing with your throttle, aiming for the green points through these S's and making sure that you try and clip them as best as possible. I will shift down into 3rd gear here for this corner at turn 5, and again looking for the exit curve on the exit so that I know when it is I need to accelerate. Turn 6, all about being flat, going through the gears, just holding the car and trying your best to make sure that you don't go off. Coming up to Degner 1, you would brake very slightly again at the 50 board and aim for the right hand side curve, making sure that you are flat. I actually don't really lift here, but I do gear down into 5th gear so that I can obviously take the corner. Coming to Degner 2 now, we would then brake quite hard. It is one of the first hard braking points on the circuit, and I go down into 2nd but then shift up into 3rd. Coming to the hairpin then, at the exit of the entry curve, the last point of it is where I would start braking all the way down into 1st gear, making sure I clip the exit, and then as I come out I would shift up into 2nd so that I don't get that wheel spin on the way out of the corner. Then it's all about just finding a nice tight line, going all the way up as we come into Spoon, and Spoon is one of the more difficult corners on this racetrack and in the game. I do brake here very slightly again at the 50 marker board, and then I would shift down into 4th gear as I hit the first one, and then in the middle of the second, coming to the second corner, I then very slightly brake, and I have the accelerator just to balance the car, shifting down into third gear to help it slow down a little bit more, and then making sure that I can ride this curve so that my exit is very quick. And then again, as we come up to the back straight now, running all the way up to 130R, it's all about just extending the gears, making sure that you're pushing the car as far as you can, positioning yourself quite nicely. I do turn in at 130R at the 50 board, and then clipping the apex quite nicely, not lifting, making sure I'm flat, and then as we come to what I like to call the cross the center corner, I like to brake just before the 100-meter board, but a lot of guys can brake on or after that. And then when you're coming to this chicane, I like to make sure that I clip both corners. Just be careful there of running too far over the corners, not having two wheels on the track, because then you will definitely get a penalty. And yeah, that's basically a lap of Suzuka, guys. As I said, it is quite key that you do prep this track, and we'll just have another look in chase cam view. So few other tips that I will mention. As I said, strategy is quite key for this race. I know in Autopolis, a few guys did, well, most of the field did do the one stopper. It is probably going to be the case for this race. However, do check your tires. That's the only tip I'm going to give there. Watch the tires. Understand the limits of the car, especially as you're running through these S-bends. Knowing when you should be accelerating, knowing when you should be braking, knowing what the car is doing when you're trying to accelerate and turn at the same time, highly key. And then engine braking. This is like one of the coolest things to do, that you're not actually braking with your foot, your left foot on the brake pedal, but rather using the gears to shift down so that the car slows down. So please guys, practice that. And then also when you're doing your prep races, or even just in a random lobby following another car, please make sure you practice being able to stick behind somebody, because what you find is when you're in clear air, you can turn a lot earlier, you can brake a lot later, but it's not the same when you're in slipstream. And these cars with their aero, it does get affected when they're following another car. So please practice being able to sit behind somebody in slipstream. It will benefit you come the end of the race. And guys, when you're coming to the chicane, please don't be a frost. Don't be a frost. Know your braking markers. Know when it is you need to turn in. If somebody's next to you, at least give them the benefit of the doubt as you get into that chicane. So yeah, that's just a few tips. We've got a bonus view so that you can see kind of how the gearing works for the engine braking, which is what I had mentioned earlier, but as well as how you really need to trust the car into the corners. When you're accelerating, how little movement you actually really need to do to make this car turn, and when you do actually need to be quite aggressive with the cornering, you see how the wheel literally just flicks this car left, right. I mean, this track is, as I said, one of the tougher tracks, one of my bogey tracks. It does kind of separate those guys that are very well trained racers and those that just have, they can pull it out of I don't know where. But yeah, Suzuka, one of those tracks that's literally a roller coaster ride. I think that's why on the real life circuit they've actually got a roller coaster at the end of the circuit. So guys, it's one of those tracks that I think you definitely benefit from. If you are able to practice this track in any car class, any group, whatever it is, yeah, it's one of those real life racetracks that definitely does separate the true racers from those that are noobs. And yeah, I just want to say good luck to everybody for this coming Thursday. I think it's going to be quite a nice race. This is like one of the OG F1 circuits, and I'm quite keen to see how everyone is doing this week in terms of their lap times. I managed a 1:36.7 on this lap. I know I can probably do a little bit better, so yeah, I'm expecting that a lot of guys are going to be good. So that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this lap guide video, and yeah, Godspeed, and we'll see you next time.